Welcome to the Astro Psyche. This is your weekly astrology forecast for October 21st through the 27th. And this week is about accessing your vitality. We have the Sun coming into an aspect with Pluto. The Sun will also move into the sign of Scorpio. So happy birthday to my Scorpio people. And some other aspects that we're going to talk about. My name is Shawna McGrath. I'm a depth psychotherapist and an astrologer, and I'm so delighted to be able to share the astrology of this week with you from a psychological perspective. Let us start with a quote from the psychotherapist Barbara Stevens Sullivan. This is from her book called Psychotherapy Grounded in the Feminine Principle. This was written in the late 1980s when there was a much more binary focused on feminine versus masculine. And so I think that we could rename the intention of this book Psychotherapy Grounded in an Embodied Principle, or embodied in the principle of interconnectedness. She really here talks about the healing journey that is psychic, intuitive, that is co-collaborative with the universe, so that it's not just that we're doing something via our will, that there is this element of synchronicity and interconnectedness in life. Anyways, I digress. She says, psychic health is not founded on eradicating illness and woundedness. On the contrary, it depends on containing these states. And I really love this quote in general, because I think that we so often are seeking to eradicate or to exile or to permanently remove our suffering, which of course this is very natural, being a human, to want to not feel suffering. And also at the same time, psychic health, as she says, is really more about containing and tending to our suffering, to our illnesses, to our woundedness states, and tending to these states. And I wanted to begin that with this week in particular because we're talking about Sun square Pluto this week. And so Pluto is the planet of intense experiences that are often exiled or shamed or taboo in some way. Pluto is the planet of depth psychology, of the unconscious, of these experiences that tend to be more private, or that tend to facilitate going into the void or dark night of the soul, or getting into contact with something that is unconscious. And the Sun is the planet of conscious awareness, insight, and vitality. The Sun is a symbol of our life force, of our psychic life force, not just the physical. The physical is a part of that, but it's also connected to this divine spark of life that is unique. The Sun is psychologically, also we could say it's a symbol of the ego, the part of your psyche that says, I am me, this is me, I am it, the things that we claim as a part of ourselves in this unique human experience. And so the Sun is still in Libra when this is happening. This is really mostly in full effect on Monday and Tuesday, and I would say even the weekend before. So this combination is about themes of power, control, influence, emotional responsibility, and the impact of paternal figures in your life. And I would even say the impact that paternal figures have or did have on your relational or attachment style. Because we learn a lot from paternal figures when we're young. We learn a lot about what it means to have power, control, and influence, and what it means to take responsibility for ourselves versus others. And Sun-Pluto really asks us to look at our relationship to power. And I think that at a more practical level, this often looks like when we have this aspect, it is revealing it's revealing itself via situations where we feel like we want to control someone or something in our lives. And so this is like a really good indicator that Sun Pluto is active in some way in your life, that there's something unconscious that happens, because the unconscious emerges in a couple of different ways. The unconscious can emerge via strong emotional states. Jungian psychologists would call this complex. So when we feel like taken over by emotion, when we feel uh, an emotion that seems to be exaggerated beyond what the circumstance would normally call for. And so this can be anywhere from fear to anger to frustration to sadness to going into fight, flight, freeze, or fawn mode. Any of those things can be an indicator that something is happening. And so in those states this week, if that happens, especially Monday or Tuesday, we want to watch for that, and we want to know, oh, okay, something is happening here. There's an activation, and that means that that activation means that something is emerging from the unconscious, and we want to just get, really curious on what might be happening there. Why may it be that we feel so activated by this phenomenon? Is there a boundary that's being crossed? Is there a need that is not being met? Are we trying to control something? Do we feel like we don't have any control? And so these are all questions to ask and to see what comes up here. I think that Pluto can facilitate a great amount of healing, and it's usually uncomfortable to come into consciousness around something that has been unconscious in some way. I'll also say this week that we're like moving into this theme this week and next week, because this week the sun will move into Scorpio. So it will discontinue its aspect with Pluto once that happens, but we still have Mars making an opposition with Pluto. So Mars really isn't exact until next week, but Mars is really in the equation here too. And so Mars also brings this sense of wanting to advocate for something, wanting to fight for something. Mars brings in our natural defense system. And so that's why I'm kind of feeling this week it may be more around watching where you feel like something is amiss, and that's going to be information and feedback for you. Whether or not you can change the external circumstance, that's not really the point. I mean, if you can, that's fantastic. But the point here is really tending to your inner experience and containing as best you can and asking for help when you need it. Finding a way to be with what your experience is in the moment. And the beauty of Pluto is having empathy for difficult states, having empathy for difficult emotions. When Pluto gets distorted, there can be shaming of yourself or of others. And so when we feel shame, that usually feels like you are a bad person. Not that you've done something bad, but that you at your essence are bad, or that someone in their essence is bad, and that there is this unredeemable quality. And so if that starts to come in, sometimes we don't even realize that we're feeling it. Sometimes it's somatic in the body, or just this feeling of badness. And so if that happens, the way to sort of soften that is to be very curious and gentle and compassionate with yourself, and to seek out support from folks who can also have that empathetic quality with you. Now, I did say on Tuesday, the sun is moving into the sign of Scorpio. So this is happening Tuesday, October 22nd. And so the sun is this monthly spotlight. It's this monthly focus of conscious awareness where our vitality and our sense of like the sun is very focused on what it is that we're bringing into the world, where our energy and vitality is focused. Oh yeah, this is the thing I wanted to say here too about Pluto is that when we have Sun-Pluto, and when we have something where we're working with difficult emotional states, when we transmute that, when we digest it, when we process it, like when I say process it, that means experience it versus, we don't want to pretend it's not happening. We want to like be like, oh, I'm feeling this way. And when we acknowledge how we're feeling, then we can have a greater sense of vitality. That can be physical vitality, emotional vitality. There's something that gets freed up. And so our sense of like being able to focus on something, that is a sense of vitality. So that is shifting this week from Libra to Scorpio. Libra and Scorpio are both very relationally focused. They're both very much about the space between you and others. And Libra is more about finding a sense of balance, justice, equanimity, and the constant movement. Libra being a cardinal sign, cardinal air sign, the constant movement and adjusting and tending to that is required when we have balance, especially in relationships. It's like this constant dance. And so we go through this experience with the Sun Libra over the last month from September 21st-ish to October 22nd. And then we shift into Sun and Scorpio. Scorpio is more of a focus around deep bonds and deeper levels of intimacy and how we become vulnerable via intimacy, how we depend on each other, and how we feel a sense of deeper meaning and connection in our relationships. And when this happens, there's a sense of more more realness, more authenticity, and that it is also, there's a risk in this as well. And so a lot of these themes are coming up, this focus on relationships becoming deeper and more about the emotional bond. This is something that we'll continue to explore with the Sun in Scorpio over the next month. Now, also this week, this relates to the Sun as well, is that we'll have our last quarter moon in the sign of Leo on Thursday, the 24th. And so the last quarter moon is the point in the lunar cycle between the full moon and the next new moon. So we had our full moon, the culmination point last week in the sign of Aries. And then next week, we're going to have our new moon in the sign of Scorpio. So we're like between the culmination and the peak experience, but we're not at that new beginning yet. So the last quarter moon this week is more about getting closure, winding down, and finding either a path forward or a sense of release of what it is that you have started. So it really depends on where you're at. And this can be something very practical that you're working on, maybe projects. It can also be more of an emotional process. So there is this sense of determining how you want to proceed in your life. What is it that you want to recommit to? And what does that look like for you? And what are the things that you want to sort of tie up or let go of or dial back a notch? The last quarter moon, both of the quarter moons really have this sense of reassessment. Whereas the first quarter that we had a couple of weeks ago is about deciding how you want to channel your energy out into the world. In contrast, the last quarter moon this week is more about figuring out how you want to settle your commitments so that you can channel more of your energy inward to yourself over the next couple of weeks, moving into that new moon in Scorpio next week. This being in the sign of Leo is particularly important because it tells us about feeding your sense of feeling appreciated, feeling loved, feeling like you can be a creative, expressive person. And so, what are the things in your life that help you to do that now? Now, also this week, we have a couple of minor aspects that are supportive aspects. So we have Mercury and Scorpio making a trine to Saturn and Pisces. This is really about thinking through long-term or foundational life situations. Mercury with Saturn tends to have a more serious nature in our thought processes. So this could be about contemplating commitments, or focusing on or reflecting on the past. I think that it's a great time to channel your intellectual energy in something that it is that you want to grow over the long term. So I think it just really has us also kind of thinking about the things that are important to us. Saturn, those more serious commitments or devotions that we have. Also this week we have Mars in Cancer making a sextile to Uranus, and this is like a little mini burst of excitement or inspiration, having to do with either physical activity or for advocating for something. So that's like this little bit of resource there. So I think any kind of physical activity or doing something that feels like you're really excited about it, that could be a helpful resource to you. Okay, so I'm going to pull some tarot cards for you. So this is the point in this forecast where you can get into a place of connecting with yourself, with your inner state. And so whatever you need to do to feel that in this moment, to drop in to your body, to your breath, check in with your nervous system, with your psychic state, and to be with yourself and to settle in with yourself as much as you can. If you're able, you can close your eyes or focus on a particular spot. And feeling yourself in this relaxed state of awareness and flow. This is a wonderful moment to request the presence of your spirit guides, your higher self, ancestors, any deities or helpful spirits that you have a relationship with. Ask that they are here with you now to communicate with you, to help you in a way that you can easily access. And connecting in with your heart or a centered space in yourself. You may also wish to pick a number between 1 and 3 to have one of these 3 cards be special to you. I'm using the Wild Unknown deck by Kim Krans. First card is the Ace of Swords. So I did pull this reversed. So that means that a part of this is like a little bit unknown or flipped in some way. So the ace has a new moon kind of energy. It is the initiation point. It is the seedling, like not even the seedling, it is the seed of something new. And we don't even know what it is yet because it's just this little seed, and we can guess because it looks like XYZ kind of seed, but we don't really know. And so there is something here for you that is beginning, that is wanting to come into being. It's like coming down the pike, so to speak. And this is the Ace of Swords. So the swords are about ideas, inspirations, communications. The swords tend to be more thought oriented or intellectual in some way. I'm very struck by this imagery in this card. There's a sword with what looks like a snake-like infinity symbol that's multicolored, and this always reminds me of the caduceus and kundalini. This the life force energy moving up or down through the central channel. And that in order to do that, that there's this interconnection between all of these different parts of psyche and self, and that the central channel, there's strength there, but there's also this winding from one thing to another, and that one thing builds on top of another. And yeah, but I pulled this reversed. I don't know, maybe this new thing that's coming into being is inconvenient in some way, or it feels construed, or you might be like, I don't know, Shawna, what the I don't know what you're talking about, what new thing that's coming into being. So it might be hidden in some way, might be very unclear as of yet. This card also looks like there's rain and lightning that's happening. So this is actually making me think of the recent very destructive hurricanes that we've had in Florida and other places, and that sometimes there are forces or situations that are outside of our control that propel us into something new. And so that may be a part of what's happening here as well, that there is something new coming into being, maybe not even via your choosing. Maybe there is a forceful movement into something new. And the second card, this brings you into your strength, into your power. The strength card is a symbol of emotional resilience. So it's not really about exerting your strength via being a hard ass, for lack of a better way of saying it. It's more about connecting with your ability to weather whatever situations come your way. And that doesn't mean that you do it all on your own, but it means that you have the capacity to tend to yourself. And there's actually another quote that I wanted to read from this book as well. And that is, yes, so this is very Plutonian also, and very connected to this strength card here. She says, healthy living, creativity, and joy depends on maintaining a fluid attitude toward reality, allowing things to fall apart and come together again repeatedly, bringing vitality to that which is ancient, old, and orthodox by recreating it after destroying it. So this concept of rebirth, this concept of having like flexibility, and she calls it this fluid attitude towards what is happening. And I think that this is a big part of the strength, is it doesn't mean that we're going to feel joyful and happy about things that are challenging, but it means meeting challenges, and that you have the capacity to meet challenges and to move through it and to create a new day for yourself. The last card is the Father of Pentacles. This is also the King of Pentacles. And gosh, what a beautiful card. I'm just really struck by the pentacle that's like shining this bright light over the deer's head in between its antlers. And this card tends to be about material abundance, a culmination of material, physical, or real world status or power, influence. It is having access to all of the resources that you need in order to live from a place of security. And even like more than that, really, to live from a place of impact. And so I think that this is about starting something new, finding your resilience, and gaining a sense of self-confidence from that place. That is your weekly forecast. I am wishing you so much ease and safety and joy and comfort this week. Again, my name is Shawna McGrath. You can find me on my website, theastropsyche.com. Wishing you a wonderful week, and I'll see you soon. Bye.